What's up, guys? This is Veronica. Before we jump into this podcast, I wanted to say, since the recording of this podcast, more info has come to light about the OceanGate Titan incident. We are saddened by this tragic event, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of those lost in the OceanGate Titan. With that being said, please enjoy the pod. Peace. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs.
We are the Youngs.
And we have a guest today.
He's actually also a Young.
That happens to be my last name also.
Oh.
So we are the Youngs.
Yeah, we are the Youngs. And it's not just like happenstance that his last name is Young. This is Alex's brother, Christopher.
I think some people probably know that, right?
And some people can probably figure it out if they look at us.
Yeah.
Together.
Maybe.
Yeah. By the way, if you're watching, let me just apologize in advance. I'm on day 5 hair, so I'm wearing a hat. And for the next couple episodes, I will still be wearing a hat because, keeping it real, we're filming multiple times today.
We always film multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Who really has time to film once a week?
Oh, I don't know. Christopher.
Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So who are you? What
I kind
do
of
you do?
make my schedule.
Yeah.
I have a question before I tell you who I am.
Okay.
Or tell them who I am. You guys
Yeah.
know who I am. This has nothing related to what we've been talking about or what we discussed to talk about.
Yeah.
What do you make of this submarine thing?
Oh, that's good. That is so
Ooh.
good.
I am completely enthralled by it.
Most
It's
people
intriguing.
are.
And this is going to be a hot take.
Yeah.
But the memes and GIFs and stuff on Twitter are absolutely hysterical.
I
Okay,
think
I was going to
so
say
too.
that. I think they're
Oh my
hysterical,
God.
but I think there's too many people, and this is like this on literally.
Hold on, pause for a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is how you know that we're family, because we have all the same opinion.
Okay, so I mean, literally any topic in the world anymore in the last probably forever. There's these people, and then there's these people. Why can't you be both? I think they're hilarious, but I'm also empathetic that those are 5 people that
Lost
literally
their
have.
lives, probably.
I'm a little empathetic. Nobody goes to the bottom of the ocean.
Without knowing there's risk.
Yeah, and on the front page of their waiver they
I
signed,
was
it
like,
said
did
something
you
about
sign a
death like
waiver?
3
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Somebody else told them that there was possibility of this being catastrophic.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to the literal bottom of the ocean.
I saw a meme today that said, I showed it to you this morning, Alex. It said, how come nobody told me this $200,000 ticket wasn't a round trip? I'm like, damn.
I saw one yesterday, and it said, this is a live video of the Titan trying to make a 3-point turnaround in the Titanic dining hall, and it was Austin Powers in the hallway.
That's horrible.
No. Okay, that it is honestly like
It's sad for them.
It's so sad.
And
Like,
honestly, it really comes down to the CEO being really freaking shitty human being. Because
Yeah.
he had somebody that said, hey, there are like a dozen red flags. This needs to be fixed before you do anything more. Like the big giant window in the front was only rated for pressures that was like, what, a third of what it was
Well,
going
it
to
wasn't even a
experience?
full
Two-
window. It was steered. Well, it was steered with a game
A Logitech
controller.
remote.
what the heck?
But it was a screen, like a monitor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they're sitting inside of this tube.
Yeah, and it had multiple materials, which is not supposed to be the case.
Yeah, and they're in close proximity, and they're going to the bottom of the ocean to look at the Titanic on a TV screen.
Yeah, when you
I
can
can
do
do
that
that
from
from
the
home.
living
You
room.
can watch documentaries and get that same effect,
Yeah.
and maybe not die.
Right. That's insane.
Yeah,
That's
it's
insane.
crazy.
And I also saw something about, forgive me, I don't know the technical terms of it, but like the CO2 circulator, like it sucks out, like all the air that you're breathing out, it's supposed to like cycle it in and out, and they don't
Yeah.
have that
The
on
theory
there.
is they lost electrical power, which would mean that thing's not working.
Yeah.
So-
Gosh.
Which means it
it's
doesn't matter
honestly
how
terrible.
long of oxygen they have.
So we
anyway.
talked about this on the worst fans.
Yeah.
And my assumption is they were crushed under pressure just pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
terrible.
that's
if they had
probably the
found them
best
anyway-
case scenario for them, because suffocating to death
Yeah,
sounds
that-
like a really awful way to go.
yeah.
Right, and just knowing that the clock's ticking and it's not very long.
Yeah, like, oh, well, we've got 10 hours of oxygen left.
Yeah. Wasn't
We
it
have
something?
5 hours of
Wasn't it
oxygen
something
left.
today? Like
it ran out today.
It ran out today.
Yeah.
Well, it officially ran out today, but with all the other things that could have happened.
And I was reading
It
about
didn't
some
really-
researcher wrote a thing about it. Because of the frigid temperatures, you go into like a hypothermia and you don't
go
breathe
into shock.
as quickly. So you're not using as much oxygen. So there's potential for there still to be oxygen. I think they're crushed.
But then also like with panic attacks and like heavy breathing and like, you know, going to the bathroom, maybe vomiting, like there's probably, I don't know. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Let's talk about the empathetic side.
There's nothing good about what happened.
These 4 other people that went down there were basically sold a crock of shit from the CEO.
Yeah,
when
they were.
It's like in the wedding industry, when you get somebody that just isn't that good that tries to sell you on something.
Read the contract.
Read the contract. Know who you're hiring. Do your research.
He was warned by numerous people not to do this. There was another guy that was going to go on this trip and did a test run with him. And after that, he's like, yeah, it didn't go well. I'm not doing this. And he was going to make a documentary and everything. And he's
Have
like,
they
nope.
done any of these prior to this?
They say they have, but I've heard mixed stories. Like they have and they didn't go well, or they didn't. I don't think they've gone this deep.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
But I don't know. I don't see something that you like. He bought parts for this thing at Camping World.
What?
So there's going to probably be signs at Camping World that are like, we're not selling you submarine parts.
Did you say how much that remote costs? Like a
Camping-
$29
$30
remote.
bucks.
It's like a $30
Camping
remote.
World, like Bass Pro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro.
So
What?
you're not going to convince me that that thing was structurally sound to hold up to the pressure
No.
of the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, gosh.
And this here is why I do not trust the ocean.
I said the same thing the other day.
I'd more risk going to the moon than going to the bottom of the ocean.
So people have gone to space and come back.
Yeah.
You
Multiple
don't hear
times.
about too many people that go to the bottom of the ocean and come back.
No,
if any.
that's why like we won't go on a cruise. Like it won't happen.
Yeah, it's scary. I don't like the ocean. Have you heard about the whales? Speaking of the ocean,
The whales.
No.
whales now are just like crashing into the side of yachts and like attacking yachts.
Oh my god.
Get out of my house.
Yeah, that's
Attacking
what I
them?
said. Yeah, like
Get out of my house.
They've broken rudders. Two known boats have sank.
Nope.
Yeah, they're probably like, you don't belong here.
So the theory is they're doing it for amusement, which is hysterical.
Well, I mean, whales
Wow.
and dolphins
They're
and all,
smart.
they're real
They are.
smart.
They are smart. But yeah, that's a funny story.
Do you think
also.
they know how dumb humans are becoming? And so they're just like,
Oh yeah, I think they're smarter than
Toying
us.
with us?
And they're like, I'm in this body of water with an total, like all the food I'll ever need for my entire life. I'll just stay here. It's fine here.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. So funny.
Read about the killer whales. It's funny.
I'm gonna do that. Wow. Okay.
They also punt their sea lions into the air before they eat them.
Oh, I've
and that
heard
is
of
strictly
that.
for amusement.
I have heard of that.
Yeah, I've seen that
I
too.
have heard of that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Anyway.
I told you, I'm very good at digressing.
Yeah, we love that.
That's what
we
we do all
love
the
that.
time. We're off the rails. Minute 1.
So if you know Christopher, you probably know him by Chris. I think I am like one of 2 people who call him
You,
Christopher.
Nicole,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Who are you? What do you do?
I am Chris. I'm Alex's brother.
Not one of the triplets.
Not one of the triplets.
Have we
I'm
actually
the
said that I'm a
oldest.
triplet on here?
I don't know.
This might be the first time.
He's a triplet.
I'm a
I have
triplet.
triplet siblings. He's one of them. I work at an urgent care in the area here as an EMT instructor. I'm an assistant manager I do a lot. I work with the inventory training, wear a lot of hats, so I'm always busy. Mm-hmm. My biggest thing is being an EMT instructor, BLS instructor. So I'm making EMTs and making people BLS certified.
What is
Basic
BLS?
life saving.
Basic life support.
Support.
CPR, AED
Okay.
use.
Okay.
So
cool.
bringing people back from the dead, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's cool, right?
Or keeping
Yeah.
them alive.
Or
if they're
keeping
not
them
dead
alive
yet.
if they're not dead. But if I'm doing CPR, they're dead. Clinically dead. They don't have a heartbeat.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm teaching people how to bring people back from the dead.
We love that.
That's cool, right?
Preventing
Yeah.
the zombie apocalypse one person at a time.
Yes.
That's dope, honestly. So anytime I have like a medical question, I'm like texting Christopher, hey, does this look weird?
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Actually, like I just literally today got results from a blood panel because I haven't had one in a long time. And I'm like, hey, can you look at this? I know what they told me, but I want to see what you said.
Yeah, him and his girlfriend Nicole are our own personal family doctors.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There's some things I don't know, but
Not much, honestly. You're really smart.
if I don't know something, I will research it and try to find out the answer.
I feel like you know more than what you probably need to actually do your job.
Yeah, so I do. And part of working at the urgent care that I'm at, we have a huge scope of practice for an EMT, or we hire MAs and things like that, but it's a huge scope of practice. We run our own labs. So I had to learn lab values. I had to learn how to do the labs. I had to learn a lot of things that you normally wouldn't learn as an EMT on the road.
Yeah.
which is great. And that's one of the big reasons why I actually went to the urgent care in the first place 4 years and a few months ago.
Yeah.
It's 4 years and a few months ago. How long have you been in the medical field to begin with?
Well, that's a funny story. About like working in the medical field 4 years and some months ago.
Yeah.
Right out of high school, I went to EMT school. I went to the community college. So it was a long program. It was like a semester long program. I got through that and was trying to get into the medic program, and it was a political circus, a lot of hoops to jump through, including prerequisites like microbiology. I was not thrilled about.
Yeah. I wouldn't
So
be either.
I kind of stopped. And also, there wasn't a real good place to work
Yeah.
as an EMT.
And that was in what year?
02, 03. I
Yeah.
graduated in 02, so it's probably 03, 04.
And if
Okay.
you thought that EMTs made too little now, it was much less
It was
than.
a fraction of what
You were
EMTs
probably making
are
minimum
paid
wage.
now.
Like
Yeah,
what, $7 an hour?
7 to 9 probably,
Yeah.
which is pennies
Yeah.
compared to what even we start our EMTs out at Total Access. So I didn't know what I was going to do at that point. So I started working full time for the city of Overland on their street crew. Developed an interest in landscaping, kind of evolved from that, and I did landscaping for like 10 to 12 years of my life.
Yeah.
Working on a golf course, right?
Yep, worked on a golf course doing turf grass management and mowing grass. I went through schooling for a horticulture degree, so I know a lot about plants.
Which actually, I never even made that connection until just now that you went to school for, can you say that again?
Horticulture.
Horticulture.
I don't think,
Horticulture.
I think that's a word that I cannot say.
Plants.
Thank you. We'll just say plants. And Nicole is like obsessed with plants just as
Oh,
much
yeah.
as I am, which that's funny. I've never made that connection. Have you
yeah,
made that
she-
connection?
Oh yeah, she asks me all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why don't you ever help me with my plants? You have a horticulture background." I'm like, "I try."
Her plants
Yeah.
look just fine to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
she's
They look
doing great.
fine.
She's doing
She's
great.
doing a great job. I'm more into the outside plants.
Yeah, you know a lot, and I don't know a lot
Well,
about
I mean, those are outside plants in tropical
in a
conditions.
tropical setting.
Right.
Which,
Yeah.
hell, coming up soon, we're going to be tropical. You could put them outside.
Yeah, that's true.
So I did landscaping, went to school I've been to school for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I was very undecided on what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Same.
In high school, I was going to be a sports journalist. Mm-hmm. I played baseball, and I was going to go to Culver Stockton
Yeah.
and study journalism and play baseball. But,
You broke your arm.
well, before that, I was young and dumb and was like, I don't want to leave my friends because I have to have a social life, and there's nothing to do in Canton, Missouri.
Yeah.
I said no, and I didn't go. In hindsight, I should have gone. So that led to EMT school here. And it was fine, but I didn't work as an EMT.
Yeah.
And then, again, all the years of landscaping
Yeah.
takes a toll on your body.
Oh, yeah.
Concrete work, retaining walls, patios.
And some people do that for their entire life.
career.
Yeah.
At some point, I quit
Yeah.
working in landscaping. And you guys know this, some people don't, but I had a daughter that passed away. And through that whole process, I got really intrigued by medicine again.
Yeah. Because
And
Finley's case was
was-
very interesting.
it was very
Like
interesting.
Yeah.
to the point where it weren't like hospitals from across the country were wanting the information on her.
Yeah, they were wanting to do case studies and like the sheer numbers of like cases that had to do with anything like what she was going through that were so tiny.
And with all the, I mean, we know the intricacies of like what that period of time looked like for you, but you were probably also just like learning a lot
Yeah.
of medical term and like
Just to
things
know
like
what was
that,
going on.
just to know what was going on with her.
And like I was researching stuff every night.
Yeah.
So she lived with us for about 2 months.
Yeah.
She passed.
But in the NICU. So
In the
you were in the
NICU,
hospital.
yeah.
You lived in the
I lived in the
hospital.
NICU essentially. And through that process, I developed a new interest in medicine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to EMT school. Found a good program, a fast program. I went through in 4 weeks. To put that in perspective, I teach a 7-week program, and it's fast.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks, 5 days a week for 4 weeks is intense. Without a background initially, I probably wouldn't have done so well. But I did fine.
But you'd
Yeah.
already previously passed the EMT
That's what I mean.
test
With,
to begin with.
Right.
that background helped. We had some people in our class that had to drop because it was tough and they didn't have a background at all. So I got relicensed and went to work as an EMT at Total Access. Total Access was going to be a stepping stone for me because I was like, I'm going to go do paramedic. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do
You
that.
wanted to do air paramedics.
I considered flight. I considered tactical.
You were going to go through the fire academy too,
I
weren't you?
considered that. Then they told me I was too old.
which is a little bit of what we're talking about
4
today.
years ago, I was, when I started working at Talk, I was 35. I'm 39 now. I'll be 40 in November.
But at the same time, though, if you could physically be able to pass all the physical tests that were required, most departments require you to retire by 65. So even if you start
still
at
could have
40,
given them a
that's
good 20 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
Did they like literally say that you were past the age, or
The people in the fire service told me that.
okay, so there's no like hard age limit.
But it would be
No.
hard to get a job because it's very
Because-
political.
But
Yeah.
and if I would have been the oldest person in the fire academy
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, you
might have been
people are
older than
going to
the
hire
instructors.
probably,
Yeah.
or at least the same age as. And they're like, people are going to hire younger.
Right.
Just what they do.
Yeah.
It's just something we deal with as humans
Yeah.
in the workforce. People and things like that, they'll want to hire younger people.
And
Yeah.
realistically, it would be harder for you physically anyway to
Yeah.
keep up with them.
It would.
Just by nature of how the body works.
But you weren't like fully set on that anyway.
No, I mean, at one point I was, but that changed fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't take long for me to be at Total Access to realize the ability to grow there. And it's exponential.
Well, and you
the
started
growth.
at Total Access shortly before the pandemic.
I started, yeah.
And then, so like your first full
It was
year
about a
was
year.
the pandemic, wasn't it?
No, well, yeah, kind of. I was there for a year. And then I was there March 2019.
Okay.
Pandemic started March 2020.
Yeah.
So I was there a year. We did have a bad flu season while I was there. I kind of caught the tail end of it in March of 2020, pandemic hit.
Yeah. Which that was, I'm
And
sure,
that
interesting.
changed everything.
Do you think that solidified that you made the right decision? That going through like one of the hardest medical
Now, yeah.
times ever?
Then I was questioning whether or not I made the right decision.
Why
it
is
was
that?
hard. It was hard to work. Our company,
Well, I think it was hard in general for every
it
human.
was hard for everyone.
Yeah.
In the medical field, it was even more so, especially for me in our company. Most places shut their doors. We're like, we're not seeing you. Doctors wouldn't see their own patients. Hospitals wouldn't take anyone in, mostly because they didn't have space. We really leaned into the problem, and we were seeing 3,000 patients a day.
Yeah.
A day. Talk wide.
Okay, I was gonna say, is that
Citywide.
total wide?
Citywide.
Okay.
I remember little brag. Yeah. I remember like when I thought that I had COVID and I was like, I know that I'm going to have to wait probably at least 5 hours to get a test. And luckily I had you guys and I was able to like actually come through the back door and just get tested and leave,
Yeah,
which I was so grateful for,
it's-
but it was insane.
It was. I mean, and it still is in some sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of at the tail end, but I mean, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the pandemic brought a lot of change in my company. It brought a lot of change everywhere. But one of the biggest changes was people were leaving, right? So we needed employees. We needed staff.
Yeah.
Sometime during the pandemic is when I got promoted to a leadership position. And we needed staff. People were leaving medicine, not just leaving Total Access and going to another place.
They were
People
like,
were
"Peace
leaving
out."
medicine.
Yeah.
Because it was hard.
They're doing the opposite of what you did, basically.
Yeah. So I kind of dove into it. We developed our own EMT program from the pandemic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the reason that we decided to do this is because we needed staff.
Yeah.
So why not?
Build from within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or get people to come in
And then keep them on.
and try to keep them on.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we have a very high percentage of people that go through our EMT program that stay with Total Access
That's great.
for at least 90 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really great. There's been times where like, I don't know if it's worth doing this EMT program, but now it's blown up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have 36 students enrolled in class right now.
And so did you like have, I guess you probably had a hand in like the curriculum and like actually creating the program itself, right?
I got pulled in a few weeks to a month or so after they started discussing it. I got pulled in as an instructor, and we built it from the ground up, and I was very much a part of that.
There's only so much curriculum you can build, though, because it's
and it is state mandated.
Mandated.
Actually, it's nationally mandated. So each state has their own intricacies, but the overall curriculum is mandated by the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration, or whatever it is. So it's all at a national level, and we have to teach that to stay accredited. But we got to pick what book we used, and we got to pick this and that. So, and there was a lot of logistics that we had.
And you could teach, you could, having your own thing, you could teach things that are a little more specific also, in addition to that, to what you guys do specifically.
Kind of. I try to stick to an EMT curriculum for my 7-week class, because they pretty much go right into a training program with talk after that.
Like hands-on?
Yeah.
IVs and
that's where we'll teach the kind of talk stuff. I try to keep it very black and white. This is EMT.
And this is what you need for the test.
This is what you need to pass this EMT test. This is total access. This is what we do. This is going to be way different for you.
Yeah.
So we try to keep it separated, but we talk about it all the time in class.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a big deal. We had patients lining up around the building. We had to come up with a wait list, like a online check-in kind of thing, so that people weren't lining up around the building when it was 5 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's dangerous for our patients, dangerous for our staff. So there was a lot of good things that came from working through the pandemic. There
kind
was
of
some other
exposed
things.
a lot of flaws that you wouldn't have otherwise
and we
seen.
also trialed some things that didn't work.
Right.
And we squashed them pretty quick. I say I have a lot of people around me. I've got a lot of leaders ahead of me, and it's mostly them that come up with the ideas, but they kind of run it through the whole system. So that's what I'm doing now.
And you are loving it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. You feel like this is what you're supposed to land on?
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
After
39 years later.
Yeah. And you also have a sports podcast.
I do. And that's fun.
But see, that is because probably you had that initial desire to become
and that's part of the
sports
passion
journalist.
for that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I used to write a blog, and we're trying to get back into that. I've got some stuff in the works for a blog site. We're going to take turns writing stuff. And weekly podcast with Mike and Aaron, who you know.
Worst fans in sports.
Yes,
is
it's
what
fun.
it's called.
We have promoted you guys like crazy.
Yeah, they're
They're trying to get us a sponsor.
Yeah, I told you all we need is a benefactor to fly us to New York.
Oh my goodness. Their podcast is dope, guys. You should go check it out if you like sports. Worst fans of sports. You guys are everywhere, right?
Worst fans of sports on everything. Yep.
On everything.
It's weekly. We try to stick to Tuesdays. Sometimes that's not able to be done, so we switch to Thursdays. Sometimes Mike forgets to hit record. 56 minutes later, we realize we only recorded like the first 5 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh
so we're
my
like,
gosh.
well, let's record on Thursday.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So what you need to do is get a lot of support and sponsorship so y'all can do it like every day.
Then I could be my own boss, is what you're saying.
Yeah. But they're hilarious, and they just kind of shoot the shit and talk about sports, and it's cool. I love it.
We kind of know what we're talking about.
They do. They know.
Mike likes to think he doesn't know anything. Mike's smarter than he gives himself credit for.
Yeah. And you know a lot. I mean, you've played like sports your whole life.
Yeah, and if my TV's on at home, there's
sports.
something sports related on it. I'll watch anything. Speaking of College World Series tonight, LSU is playing.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good game. The two best pitchers in college are pitching against each other tonight.
Perfect.
There we go. So the whole thing that I kind of wanted to just touch on was you're going to be 40 this year.
Yep.
And you gave us a background of, what your career path has looked like. And I feel like right now in our society, well, it's kind of twofold. I feel like maybe a couple years ago it was graduate, go to college, figure out what you want to do. Like, you need to know what you want to do with your life. And I feel like within the last couple of years with social media and, just mainstream media in general, it's changed a lot for the better, where you can be your own boss, you can choose what you want to do. And there's, honestly, it's endless with what you could possibly do. But there's still pressure on time and the thought that you need to hurry up and figure it out. And I have fallen victim to that too.
I mean, I did that. I mean, you were part of that too in that generation where when you're in high school, all you heard constantly was everything that you do is so that you can get into college because you won't be successful
go to college.
unless you're in college. We did a podcast on how much of a crock
College
of crap
is a waste
that
of
is,
time.
but
Unless you want to be a lawyer, doctor, whatever.
So yeah, I talk about this in my EMT class. And it just came up. Like I've got some people in there that want to be doctors eventually, and I'm like, you got to go to school for that if that's what you want to do.
For sure.
If that's not what you want to do, there's trade schools.
Yeah.
No, I mean, people don't grow up saying, I'm going to work on air conditioning units for my whole life. But there's a true need for that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something that's never going to go away.
Right.
So trade schools are a legit option.
Yeah.
And me especially, wasn't taught that in high school.
Yeah.
It was you go to college or you're going to be a failure.
Right. And I think, I saw something that Gary Vee posted a while ago, and it was like this kid came up to him, and he wasn't a kid. He's like my age. He's like, I'm 30 and I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I'm kind of freaking out. And my parents are freaking out because I'm 30 and I should already have a full-time job with benefits and starting a retirement and all that shit. And he's like, you are 30 years old. You probably are just now figuring out who you are. You have so much time. Yeah. And that really impacted me because I maybe saw it like a year ago. So I was just about to turn 30 because I'm 30 now. And I mean, we have our business, like we're successful, but I still feel like I already know that this isn't what, we can't do this forever.
Maybe you can. Says who?
I mean, I'm not going to be shooting weddings at 60 years old. Like, I'm just not.
Well, no, you're going to retire.
Yeah.
Yes, but like, I want to have other things. And so that whole like, hurry up and figure out what we're doing has felt heavy for me. And you are a perfect example of, you don't have to be a certain age to figure out what you're going to do with your life, because you figured it out just 4 years ago into your 30s.
I didn't even know then that I had figured it out.
Right.
I probably figured it out a year and a half to 2 years into actually working.
Yeah.
So even more recent, 2 years ago. Yeah. And there's some days where I still don't know if I have it figured out.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. But that's another huge crock of crap, because every day is different. And some days you literally don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Some days are hard.
Yeah.
But some days are super easy.
And I'm sure during the pandemic, it was like that a lot.
There was a lot of hard days.
Yeah.
It affected me differently than it affects others.
Yeah.
I just tend to let that kind of stuff kind of roll off my back. Like, the bad days it used to affect me way differently. I have definitely a different perspective and outlook on things now.
Yeah.
I just try not to let that negative stuff bug me.
Right.
Sometimes it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not worth letting it bug you, really.
Yeah.
Especially if you are doing what you enjoy and you kind of feel like you're meant to do. Is when the negative stuff happens, you're in that mindset of, is this really worth the energy that I would normally put toward this? And
you're going to have just as many good days as you do bad days. Bad days are just part of the deal.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're probably going to have more good days than bad days, honestly. But bad days just come with the territory.
Yeah.
You just got to forget about them.
I just feel like it's a myth that you need to figure it out soon.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that there's a lot of, I just shared it to my personal Instagram that said, Kourtney Kardashian is 44 years old, newly married and pregnant. And people need to stop putting so much pressure on women at 30 that they need to stop getting married and having kids, because that's just not, I mean, for women, there's a health factor at some point, but with having children, but even so, I mean, if you're healthy and you can have kids and you're over 30, freaking do it. Like, there's nothing about your age that says that it's a requirement to do certain things.
Well, right. And back
to
the
drive.
Well, and drink alcohol. But I mean, okay. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
That's a whole nother topic, because you can drink an 18 in Europe.
Well, we're not in Europe.
Yeah, but
or are we?
Do they have as many
Maybe
alcohol
we are
problems?
in Europe.
Maybe we are.
We fly to Europe to record this podcast.
Oh my gosh.
What I was getting at was, I feel, and I haven't really said, I think I've said this before, I think that college shouldn't even be allowed before you're 20. I think kids
Oh,
should.
yeah,
I think kids should graduate high school and have 2 years to decide if they even need to go to college.
Yeah, I was in no frame of mind in my early 20s or mature enough to even care about schooling.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it because I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
And then I just started working. It took me a while to grow up and really figure out like how to be an adult, really.
I do feel like that was, and maybe I have a different perspective and I might be wrong. You guys can tell me, but I feel like your guys' parents didn't really push for the whole college thing.
Well, I mean, we had mom.
There was very little pressure.
Mom worked in finance, but she didn't need a degree for what she did. Dad worked in a trade,
which
needed specialty
department.
schooling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't when he first went, but
Dad's big on trade schools.
100%.
Yeah, he
Huge
is.
on trade schools.
Yeah.
There was never any pressure.
Which
from
I
him.
feel like with that era, which they're the boomers, right?
Yeah,
they're like
I think they're a
tail end
little,
of boomers.
or like the early beginning of the next generation. I don't think they're quite boomers.
Okay. Well, that generation in general, I feel like are the ones who like push for 401ks
Yeah.
and going to college and things like that, which 401ks are great.
Retirement of some
But
kind.
I
retirement
have
of
one,
some
but
kind.
at the same time, I wasn't like forced into having this,
Right.
and I wasn't preached at, for lack of a better term, about
Yeah.
having these things.
Yeah.
I do because it's made available to me at my company.
Yeah.
that I
And it's
work
important
for.
to invest in something so you have something to retire with.
Yeah, for sure.
But
We're getting at anyway.
in general, it's just the negative connotation of age mixed with figuring out what you need to do is just not.
Oh yeah, and like the trade thing, if you really want to be real about it right now, the trades are even more lucrative than they've ever been because there's such a need.
Yeah.
So
There's a
like,
huge need for some of
it's
that
never
stuff.
going away. A, B, less and less people are doing them. So the people that are doing them are making more money.
Yeah.
Because they're willing to do them. And then C, look at how technology is changing.
Yeah.
You're gonna have trade schools for AI soon.
Technology changes so quickly and so rapidly. Yeah, you might have trade schools for robotics and trade schools for
Yeah, that's crazy.
AI and trade schools for things like that. But even things like I said, HVAC earlier and plumbing, whatever. That stuff might change and
it's
you might
never
have to
going away.
change with it, but it's not going away.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, and
Like-
same with medicine.
Yeah.
Medicine's always changing, but it's not going away.
Yeah.
And yeah, to be told that you're 18 and you need to know what you need to do tomorrow, it's crazy.
And you can change your mind and change it again.
I
and
did it.
change it again.
How many things
you
did
did
I
it?
do
And that's
for a
why
living?
that's why I wanted like you to just kind of talk about it
Yeah, I
because
changed my mind numerous times.
yeah.
How many
yeah.
things did I do for a living?
I mean, you also changed your mind. I feel like Christopher had more changes than you
He's
did.
also
but
older than me. He
I had more time to
make-
change my
he had more
mind.
time to change his
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
'Cause, I mean, what did I do when I first left? I wanted to be an engineer.
Oh, I know.
And I realized quickly that most engineer jobs are desk jobs, and I didn't want that. Mm-hmm. Which I still would love to be an engineer if I wasn't sitting at a desk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did exercise science, which I love, but realistically, what I learned, I really only use for myself. I'm not
And-
going to make a living doing that.
Yeah.
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 And then I did all these other jobs. I
You did
lose track.
landscaping, too.
I did landscaping
Yeah,
too
you
for
did
a
some
while.
With
landscaping too,
Christopher.
with and without.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I drove a truck
yeah.
just to
With
make
me.
money with you. I taught,
Yeah.
which I do love teaching. I just didn't like teaching
I didn't
where I
think
taught.
that I would like teaching. I quite enjoy it, and I think the subject matter is what makes the difference.
100%. Like I taught high school health.
Yeah, that's ick.
I mean,
just it.
I like teaching about health, but like I don't like teaching that age group. I want to teach people what we do on
Yeah,
this
because you
podcast.
taught about like sex and the menstrual
I
cycle.
taught the most
and-
immature group of
Yeah.
children about
A very
sexual
mature
reproduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that would be difficult.
Yeah. I could not.
It was not something that
I'd
I
be fed
wanted
up
to
in
do.
about 10 minutes.
Yeah, just walk out angry.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm done with you guys.
Yep.
I'm out of here.
That's literally what I would do. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes it takes time. I never, for the life of me, thought I would be doing this for a living. I mean, I know growing up, my parents always said, you're going to run a company one day. But when I heard that, I'm like, oh, CEO of MasterCard, which would be very lucrative. But
I mean,
mean-
and even 40 is not too late to change your mind.
No.
A student in my class, I was telling you about him before we started doing this.
I was going to bring that up.
He's 37. He retired from his previous career.
Yep.
And worked in a couple other things and kind of retired from that altogether and wanted to do something different. He still wanted to help people. His previous career had he was able to help some people in different ways, but he wanted to change his career and do something new with his life. And he still wanted to help people. And he made the determination that medicine is not going to go away.
Right.
I'm going to give this a shot. 37 years old.
Yeah.
Well, and to preface this without giving too much information away, he was very successful.
Yes, he was very
before
successful.
this.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was like struggling and just needed to figure out what he wanted to do and still be
just like,
successful.
on to the next
he
thing.
was already successful.
Yeah, he just needed, he calls it starting, he's starting his new chapter.
Yeah.
And he's 37.
That's great. That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too late.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point it might be too late.
If you're like
But
90 years
37,
old.
38, 39, 40, not
30s
too
to
late.
Not too
40s
late.
is not too late.
Not
I mean,
too late.
how many
Yeah.
people could you list off the top of your head that made their fortune after 40?
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know. I'd have to sit down and think
I mean,
about
you said
it.
Gary Vee. He didn't make a fortune until he was 40.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't start that wine company until he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably in that boat.
Yeah, for sure.
Andy Frisella.
There's probably a lot more people. Yeah. Probably a lot more people than we can even think of have
Yeah.
made most of their money after the age of 40
Yeah.
or 35, 36,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Most of the time, people that made a fortune after 40 started in their 30s.
Yeah. And they had to build from something.
Yeah.
So it's not too late. It's
Yeah.
never too late
Yeah. I love
till
it.
you're dead.
Till you're dead.
Yep.
Then it's
Till
too
you're
late.
dead.
Then it's too
too
late.
late.
But as we started this podcast, you never know when that's going to happen.
Yes.
So
You could be on a submarine
Speaking
down
of
at the bottom of the
fortunes,
ocean.
the amount of money they spent to go to the bottom of the ocean.
Damn. That's crazy.
see,
Honestly,
I didn't know this circle for this podcast was going to be based on that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
There's $1 million, $1 million sitting at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh gosh.
Plus whatever it costs to build that thing.
Yeah.
Like
crazy.
$56
Yeah.
Like $56
Yeah.
from Best
plus
Bro.
the cost of a remote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus the 30 for the PlayStation remote.
Which
or
the one that
Logitech remote.
I don't know if it's an actual picture, but the one that I saw, it was like from like an early model's PlayStation 2. It wasn't even
yeah.
like a new
Well,
PlayStation controller.
It's a Logitech controller, so it's it's for a computer.
Which are
video
designed
game.
based off of like the controllers, but it definitely
Yeah.
looked
It
like
looks
an older
old.
one.
Like
Yeah.
he found it on eBay.
He's like, this thing's Bluetooth, so anybody can drive it.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
oh boy.
Oh my god.
Maybe that's not supposed to be a thing.
Yeah.
Even the
I don't
Men in
think
Black
it
car
is.
was on a PS3 remote.
The Men in Black car.
Wow. So what like advice do you have for people who are maybe in a situation
Where
like
they don't have a clue what they're doing or what to do.
where, you know, they are 30 or mid 30s and they don't know what they want to do with their life.
Or they're been doing something for a while and they're just not
And they're
happy.
like unhappy. Cause you've been there. We've all been there.
Yeah. It's hard. I just found something new. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to find something you enjoy. If there's something that you enjoy doing in life, you can make a career out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
Yeah, that's what you
Twice.
guys did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed, even going back to when I first graduated high school, I enjoyed the medicine side of what I do and the emergency the EMS side of what I do. So I just kind of went back to that. What did I like back then?
Yeah.
What did I want to do back then?
Yeah.
Sports journalism was still in the back of my mind, and I think that's where the podcast kind of
Helps a little bit.
came from, and
Yeah.
it kind of scratches that itch.
Yeah.
But maybe you need to go back and think about what made you happy in high school. What did
Yeah.
you think about doing in high school? Because I'm sure it's not the same.
Right.
Very
I think-
few people are doing what they wanted to do in high school.
Yeah. I wanted to be a veterinarian.
And then you wanted
And
to be
then
a
I wanted to be
psychologist?
a psychologist, which I would still love.
She's basically a psychologist.
I would love to be a psychologist. I know a lot about human behavior and behavioral therapy, and I know a lot about that, and it's so intriguing to
That
me.
does require school.
That's why I love true crime. That's why I love horror films. I just love understanding why people make the decisions that they do and where it stems from, whether it's you're a literal psychopath or you have past trauma or, you know, whatever the case might be. The brain is just super interesting to me. the problem is I am not book smart. Like I cannot sit down and learn from a book. So I would never be able to like actually go to school for that. And when I was in high school, I thought that I could do it. I took like AP Psych and like all these psych classes. And I even took a couple in college, like the first year that I went to college, and then it was like, nah. But yeah, I can't learn that way. So I would never be able to get a degree like that.
I think the near future, we're going to see a lot of these like certification based careers.
Yeah. Instead of everything has to be a degree.
Start testing based on practical knowledge versus book knowledge. Like EMTs and paramedics already do that, but a lot of weight is put on the written test.
Yeah.
I think more weight is going to be put on practical knowledge in the next 10 years.
That would be for the best.
Because there's so many people that would easily pass a book smart test.
But can you physically do the job?
Right.
And that's what it takes is, can you physically do the job? The other thing I would tell you is, if you're young, or you're not young, but if you're looking to change, you're not sure what you want to do. A lot of people just get set in their minds that they can't do something.
Yeah.
And I joked around on the podcast. We were talking about, on my podcast, we were talking about gambling and how these football players were suspended for gambling. And I made the joke that he was betting on himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. And it was a joke on our podcast, but it is true. You can't go through life thinking you can't do it. Bet on yourself. Know that you can do it, and do it, and find something that makes you happy.
And
when you say you can't do it, you can't do it, because
Yeah.
you're already putting that
You have to
into the world.
You have to motivate yourself. Other people can motivate you and help you get through things, but you have to be self-motivated. If you aren't, then you're going to be stuck in this spot that you're not happy with. So they have to get motivated somehow, and you've got to do that yourself.
Yeah, I think this is also relevant. I think 7 years ago today,
What, 2018?
in 2018 today,
5 years ago.
5 years ago, I quit my job at Boeing to take our business full time, which it was technically already full time.
I remember that time.
And it was
a high stress time for everyone.
And it was today.
We literally did it for two reasons. One, I wanted to test the waters of, let's live off of this income for 6 months and then see if we can do it. And B, we just bought a house. So
Yeah.
we ended up furnishing the house, and obviously buying a house when you have a solid job versus
But it's
your own
because
business.
you invested in yourself, and you
I
bet on yourself.
I bet on myself.
Yeah.
And I remember, I reread my post this morning, actually, on Facebook, when I made like the announcement that it was my last day at my job. I said something like, I am afraid of failure. Like, that's my biggest fear.
That's okay.
But that's also where you grow and you learn the most.
But you
is
can't
from
be
your
afraid
failures.
to fail.
Yes, exactly.
Because you have to fail
Yep.
at something or some things.
And you will.
And you will inevitably fail
Yep.
at something. You have to learn from that.
Yep. But
You
those are the
can't quit.
biggest. Those are the biggest teachers.
You can't quit
Yeah.
because you failed. You got to pick yourself up. You got to keep going,
Yep.
because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
And you kind of also went into it with like, there is no plan B. There should not be a plan B. If you have a plan B, you're already setting yourself to fail. Because when you have a plan B, then you won't give plan A everything, because there's something to fall back on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you, and I mean, you mentioned Gary Vee like 2 different times now, but I literally, every other day I see him talking to somebody that mentions how miserable they are where they're at. And he's like, how old are you? Oh, do something else. Quit your job. If you're that unhappy and you're 30, 35, 40, quit the job and find something else.
Yeah. People think they can't start over.
Yeah. And you
You
can.
absolutely can start over.
You have quite literally started over your entire life.
Yeah. I've made a living over starting over.
You really have. Like 4 years ago, you were living a very different life.
Yes.
And even before that, you were living
10 years ago when I was a heavy drinker. I quit drinking. I started over.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I started over with numerous things, including profession.
Yeah.
It's tiresome. Starting
But it's
over all the
also
time.
okay.
But it's good, and it's okay to start over as
Yeah.
many times as you need to.
Yeah.
It's basically failing and figuring out what you need to do to fix it.
Which,
And now I'm in the best place I've ever been.
yeah, you're 10,
as far
10
as
years
everything.
sober.
No, it's 8. It'll
8
be 9
years?
in December.
Okay. That's dope. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it'll be 9 in December.
I remember that day when you made that choice.
I do too. It was a mom's
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah. That was a good day. Kind of. It was a rough day, but it was a good day.
Oh.
It was when I quit drinking.
Like the day
before was rough.
Christmas.
Yeah,
that was
the
a
day
rough, that was a
before.
rough Christmas.
Yeah.
That was a very rough Christmas.
Yeah. But it was, that was, gosh, it honestly does it seem like it that long for you?
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. First 30 days, first 60 days, first 90 days were tough. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, it's like, I've gone this long without, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is fine.
Yeah.
I don't miss it. Now, let's be honest. I still love bourbon. And I still like to learn about bourbon and all this and that. And I kind of live vicariously through Alex and Dad and Aaron because I still do like bourbon. I just don't drink it.
Yeah. You appreciate the science behind it and all that stuff.
We'll give you some of the barrel-aged coffee that we make.
There you go.
Oh, you know what? When we were in Chicago, we went to the Starbucks.
I hate the fact that you're saying this.
I know. It's
Starbucks.
The Starbucks Roastery, is that what it's called?
Starbucks Reserve.
Reserve. Okay.
It's basically not Starbucks. It's like a mom and pop's on a grand scale.
Have you been to
coffee
one?
shop.
No.
Okay. It's like 4 floors.
It's the biggest Starbucks in the world.
It's insane. They don't have like anything that you would see on like an actual
normal
drive-through Starbucks menu.
Really?
They don't have any syrups. They don't have like any of that.
It's all small batch reserve roasting that they do in-house.
Oh, okay.
And they had the new olive oil drink, and it was
That's like the only thing that they...
it was really cool. And then they had all their brews and stuff like that. But Alex had
It was a barrel-aged cold brew.
yeah.
Was it tasty?
They use Knob Creek barrels.
Oh.
And they age it. I assume Knob Creek ages them and then sends the beans to them to roast because that would make more sense on the scale that they do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Can you taste it?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where I was getting to. They do have one floor that has like a cocktail bar where you can get like coffee cocktails and things like that. But the one that you had was just coffee, no alcohol in it.
It was literally
the barrel aged coffee.
coffee on the rocks.
Yeah.
I think they put a little bit of vanilla syrup, but I think just enough to enhance the other flavors.
I took a drink of it and it tasted like bourbon.
Really?
And I was like, this shit is gross.
I would have been like, this shit is great.
You probably would have loved it.
I had 2 of them, and it was expensive.
I bet it was.
One 8-ounce bag of that coffee is like $40.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's not worth it to me, really.
We're not going to sell it for $40.
Okay. Well, hopefully you're not selling it to me anyways. Under the table. Give me some. Hook a brother up.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so that was interesting. But that's what made me think of it. I was like, this actually tastes like bourbon.
I made a comment once that I was like, if I could find spirit-free or liquor-free bourbon, I would try it.
Maybe you should create
I
it.
found some,
Oh, okay.
and I read reviews on all of it,
And it was bad.
and I have not tried it. Based on the reviews.
Based on the reviews?
Yeah.
Well, maybe
so I'm
we
like, you know what? Maybe this is fine.
Maybe you should make some.
barrel-aged coffee is
I don't
what
even know
you
where
need.
to start.
Just start.
I mean, yeah, I could just start, but I don't know where to start. Like, cause you got a master distiller. I mean, I don't know.
Well, bourbon starts as an alcohol.
I need to start. I need to learn the science behind it first. So there would be a gap.
So how do you get
Yeah.
that profile without the alcohol is the question.
Yeah.
And that's
I
the
have
interesting
freaking
thing.
no
And it
clue.
sounds like the reviews, they really don't.
And that might be the problem.
And that's, I think, part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because the fermenting has its own unique flavor
Yeah.
anyway. And then that is combined with the barrel flavors.
Yes.
Which the barrel flavors
And those are all
easy.
different also. Yeah. But yeah, like sitting here having this conversation is totally fine. Like
Yeah.
maybe in the first 45 days or
Yeah.
first 60 days, I wouldn't have been able to, but
Yeah.
like, this is fine. I have no desire to drink at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And it's made my life way better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would, if I was still drinking like I was 8 and a half years ago, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, from an outside
agree, yeah.
perspective, I
I
totally
would-
I
agree.
agree with that.
There's one of 2 places I'd probably be,
Yeah.
and it's not here.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of those is probably real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're thankful that you're here. So
Yeah. So I have no desire for
we
that.
kind of love you.
Come on.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? I think this was a pretty good one.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys going to come and talk sports with me on the
I
sports
would
podcast?
love-
You should
Let's talk
have
sports.
Veronica talk sports on the podcast.
You should.
Honestly,
Come on.
You'd
I
be
should.
the one to talk.
I wouldn't have any idea what I'm talking about, but
That's
I could,
okay.
I'm a good hang. I could hang.
It'll
At least
be
I
fun.
think I'm a good hang.
I'm sure you and Mike would just make fun of each other the whole time.
Probably.
And that's all right too.
Probably. He's like my other brother. He
And then
just
I make
picks
fun
on
of
me.
Aaron and it just kind of works out.
It's funny because that post you made the other day about what people think you should be doing for a living.
Yeah.
Mike said,
Oh, hanging clothes
sorting
at a-
clothes
I
at
was
a
like,
thrift store.
get the F out.
Yeah, I saw
You
that.
did that for like, what, 2 weeks?
It was
And Mike was your
It was,
boss?
it was
It
longer,
was longer
than
than
that.
that.
But
It
Mike
was-
was her boss, and that was. It's shocking to me that they're friends now.
Yeah. So a little backstory before we hop off here. I worked at a thrift store that's no longer in
Long
business,
before Boeing.
which Christopher worked there, Alex worked there, so they got me the job. And then Chris's friend Mike was the manager, which he does the podcast with now. And I was, oh my God, how old was I? Like
18?
22?
No, not even. I think
I
you were
was-
18 or 19.
Was I that
Yeah,
young?
you were pretty young.
19, I think.
Okay, so I was a punk, honestly, is what I was. And I'm sure that Mike would agree. And he was my boss. I remember one day I came in and he was like, you can't wear flip-flops. And I was like, because I know him, he's been at the family functions and things like that. I basically gave him a middle finger. But he was my boss and that was so disrespectful. And I was not a good employee. And at the time I thought he was not a good boss to me. And I was basically like, yeah, this dude can kick rocks.
But you both kind of hated your jobs.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, he was not happy there.
Yeah,
either.
for sure. And now we see him probably weekly.
Now it's a joke.
And it's just a joke now,
Yeah.
which is so funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy how that works.
Mike
right?
changed his life several times too.
Mike has too. Mike
Yeah.
really has.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
another good example.
Yeah, and he's killing it right now.
Yep.
So, awesome. We love that. Okay, maybe I should come on Worst Fans of Sports.
Well, you can come on anytime you
Well,
want.
let me know when you guys are doing it, and I'll
you
come.
know when we do it.
You have to let me know what you're talking about so I can do just like
We're
a
talking
little
about
bit.
sports.
Just watch
No,
sports for the week
okay.
and then just pick something.
Let me know like when you want me to come so I can do like a little bit of research
Okay.
and what the topics are because I don't want to come on looking
I
like a
think
complete
I
asshole.
think you shouldn't do research.
It's better when you shoot from the hip.
You just try to like,
I make
figure it out.
a few notes and I just kind of chime in. Like I do a lot of the talking.
Yeah.
But when I have my notes, I just kind of interject them when
You guys
something
would have
comes
to
up
like
in the conversation.
you guys would have to ask me like prompt me questions because other than that I'd probably be like quiet because I don't know what I'm talking about.
We'll make you talk.
That'd be fine. Yeah.
Well, Worst Fan of Sports featuring Veronica.
It would be funny to do like have you seen like that game where like you ask someone who like doesn't know like celebrities and stuff like who's
Oh,
this
yeah.
person? Who's this person? And I that would probably be funny because I don't know who
You
anybody
probably
is.
guess like 6 Cardinals.
And then I could like rate them 1 through 10 on how hot they are.
That would be great. We should do that for sure.
Love you, babe.
As long as you rate Brendan Donovan like high, because
You do
you
look like
said I
Brendan
look like
Donovan.
him, so I would be okay with
My
that.
mom also said that you look.
She did. She called you and said, I was watching the Cardinals game and there's a Cardinals player that looks just like Alex.
It is Alex.
he
Do you know
does-
there's a Cincinnati Reds bullpen pitcher named Alex Young now?
You know what? I think
He's a
I saw
lefty,
that.
isn't he?
No, he's righty.
Oh,
And
well, perfect.
there is currently or was currently a Chris Young.
There was multiple
Multiple
Chris
Chris
Youngs
Youngs.
about the
Okay.
same time. There was 2 in the league at the same time.
Yeah, see, I know
They're
a little
both
bit.
retired now. One of them's actually the GM of the Royals.
Oh,
No.
nice. Nice.
And now there's an Alex Young in the league. He's actually quite good.
Yeah.
I try.
Well, can we borrow his salary?
I don't know.
I mean, even the
You guys
league
are
minimum
doing
would be
all right.
fun. I don't know. The
We're
league,
doing okay.
the league
We're
minimum would
not
even be
making
fine.
millions.
I don't know that he is yet either.
What's
Okay.
the league minimum?
They don't have a league minimum. I mean, they have the minor league stuff.
Oh, I
Which-
thought the MLB had league minimum.
They just kind of just throw money at people.
Well,
But the minor leagues now have a collective bargaining agreement. So all the minor league salaries went up. Like
was that part
substantially.
of that last strike?
Well, it was separate because minor leagues are kind of separate from the major leagues. They worked on their own collective
Is it a
bargaining
different
agreement.
players union?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, they got their money increased quite
That's
substantially.
probably good, though, because I remember our pitching coach, Brad and I's pitching coach, John Estes, he played for the Cardinals, and, I mean, he was doing decent.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh.
they moved him around a lot.
Yeah.
But he wasn't making enough to justify how stressful it was, and that's
they
why
don't.
he left.
And you get down to that single A where he spent a lot of time, and even into double A, they still make that much. They make more at triple A, but
Estes worked for the high school, right?
Yeah.
he did
He
eventually.
started,
didn't know that.
teaching after he left.
I didn't
baseball.
know that he worked for the Cardinals.
Yeah, he went to coach at Harris Stowe for a
Yeah.
while. But yeah, he played in their minor league system
Oh,
for a while.
very
But yeah,
cool.
they've got they're making money now. They got stipends for road trips and stuff now too, which I thought was crazy that they didn't have before. But now they get stipends for food and whatnot. So good for them.
Yeah.
Well, if you want more sports information, go check out the Worst Fans in Sports
Yeah.
podcast.
Yep.
we'll put a link in the description.
Yeah.
We're on everything. So
We're on
whatever
all
you
things
find your
except
podcast
YouTube.
on.
They don't have video.
I have a YouTube channel. There's just not anything on it yet. We're working towards that.
Give them some plays on the audios.
We're working towards
so
it.
we'll link all that. And then we typically do like a little blurb on your socials, but your socials are private.
Oh, yeah.
And you
they
don't really
are.
post
If
much.
you don't want people to find you, then that's
and
fine.
you don't post much, so.
I mean, my Instagram. Why don't you do the worst fans in sports?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
what I'm saying.
link all their podcast stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you can find me through that.
Yeah.
And my Instagram's fairly open.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm easily found.
He doesn't post that much,
I just don't post that much. Yeah.
except
Yeah.
for on the
Sports
podcast stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming, Christopher.
Of course, it was fun.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
Yay. Okay. Catch us next week. Seeing the Dirty Heads. I'm stoked.
Yeah, Tuesday night.
I'm stoked.
Dirty Heads, Yellow Wolf, and G Sauce or G Love and Special Sauce.
I don't know that one. I know Yellow Wolf.
They're
but-
older. You'll have to look them up.
Okay. We'll do.
All right.
All
Anyway.
right. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.